Every one of us has a unique potential inside us, a sacred seed that makes us who and what we are if we have the courage to accept it. Something the world needs to become a strong and resilient whole that can heal the fragmented societies we have created. All of nature tells us that diversity is what allows the whole to thrive, as an ecosystem where everything fulfills its part and lives out its purpose. Ecosystems don't work, though, if the bees try to be oak trees or the eagles try to be beetles. They only work when and because everything makes its contribution to the whole by being what it truly is, by allowing its seed to germinate. No matter how much we wander from ourselves, the sacred seed within us is never destroyed. It waits patiently for an internal spring to let it germinate and grow, so that its creative energy can flood out into the world, visible and embodied. Welcome, kindreds, it's Jessica. I'd like to invite you to journal with me as I set up my pages in my witchy bullet journal for this Gemini New Moon that is happening on May the 27th. I'm going to be sharing about the energy and astrology of this new moon and pulling some tarot cards for a collective reading. If you'd like to journal along with me, you can download the guide to the Gemini New Moon, which includes horoscopes and printables for your journal. It's totally free. I'll put the link in the video description below. I'm using my Tsuki B5 journal from Notebook Therapy for this setup. It's the one that I use for all of my journaling. I also use some Notebook Therapy washi tapes from their Moonlit set. This isn't a sponsored video. I just really like their stuff. I have a black Tombow dual brush pen that I use for a little bit, and also a taupey grey, which is their N79. The pen I'm using for writing, for most of the writing, is the Pentel Calm 05. I'll try and remember to pop all that down in the description box as well. So apart from that, all of the stickers and the text that I'll be using in this setup are from that free Gemini New Moon Guide printable. So if you want to use those, then just download that. I like to set up the structure of my spread first using washi and stickers. It gives me a container then for the rest of the things I want to include, which for this Gemini New Moon spread are keywords. I'm putting in my horoscope from the guide, some notes about the astrology and how that's kind of playing out for me personally. I'm having a goals and plans brainstorm section where I'm also going to make some notes of any rituals or spellcraft I have planned for this new moon. The tarot reading write-up from the cards I'm going to be pulling for us all in a bit, and then a space for reflections. If you're journaling along with me, you can use my journal as a template or do something completely different. This is a suggested starting point only. Each month, when the moon meets the sun in the sky, we begin again. The new moon is an inward, quiet moment before the outer cycle of becoming begins once more. This month, on May 27th, that meeting of the sun and moon happens in Gemini, the sign of the twins. It's a sign of movement, stories, questions, conversations. It teaches us that life isn't one fixed truth, it's a dance of perspectives. Gemini new moons tend to open up a kind of restlessness in the air, a need to know, to share, to connect. It's not about finding all the answers, it's about becoming curious again, about asking the questions. Gemini isn't linear, it's playful, tangled, sometimes contradictory. I'm laughing because as a Gemini sun, this all sits very well with me. And so in this new moon, it invites us into that same space of playfulness, to try something out, to reach out, to listen, to connect, to begin again, not with certainty, but with openness and curiosity. And this isn't just a one-day moment, it's the seed point of a cycle that stretches out until we get to our next new moon in Cancer in late June. So what begins now, an idea, a conversation, a shift in your thinking, will grow and unfold over these next 4 weeks. Think of this time as the whisper that becomes like a symphony later on in the year. Sometimes those things that seem small at the time will become threads that you can draw on and pull on as the year goes on. And there's also some extra magic in the mix this time. We've got Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, also in Gemini, fresh and right at the beginning of the sign. So thoughts might be coming extra quick now. Words can matter more. So you might want to keep a pen handy or send that message that you've been holding back. Communication is really key in this moon cycle. And that's communication with others, but also communication with yourself as well. It can be a really fertile time for self-examination and also for divination. This new moon is in soft conversation with Saturn and Neptune in Aries and with the North Node in Pisces. So there's a thread here of dreams meeting discipline, of idealism being asked to take a practical step. So the dreams don't just drift, they're asking to be built now. And the things that you're drawn to might be aligned with your deeper growth, even if you can't see the whole path yet. There's also a beautiful trine to Pluto in Aquarius, which is giving a quiet undercurrent of transformation with this moon. It's the kind that happens through connection, through ideas, through community. So while it might not be flashy, it's deeply powerful underneath the surface. And then we've got Jupiter, that planet of expansion and meaning, that search for truth, hanging out in the later signs of Gemini, getting ready to square the nodes. And that's a kind of crossroads moment, a moment when we might feel pulled between what's comfortable and what's calling. So Jupiter wants us to think big, but to not lose that thread of ourselves. And then we've got Venus and Mars in a lovely fire trine too, offering some harmony and passion between desire and action. So yes to creative sparks, yes to passion, a yes to what lights you up. So if you're setting intentions in this new moon, make them light, flexible, playful, curious. Don't cling, ask, experiment, play, begin. There's air in the sky and fire underneath. Trust the process. Trust the questions. If you want to know more details about how the astrology of this new moon is playing into your own personal astrology, then in the free Gemini New Moon guide, which I spoke about at the beginning, has that information for you. So you can look up for your rising sign if you know that, or if not, you can look up for your sun and your moon sign to see like the areas of your chart and your life which are being especially activated for this new moon. So, you know, it can be very different depending on if it's your kind of relationship sector of your chart that's being highlighted or whether it's your work sector of your chart that's being highlighted with this moon. For me, this is in my 9th house, so I'm thinking about things like learning, higher education, travel, and I've incorporated that into my plans for this new moon because I am thinking about planning a trip and also thinking about like the courses. As a Gemini sun, I enroll in a lot of courses but I want to kind of bring some of that Saturn energy into actually finishing or at least like making good headway in those things I've already committed to in this cycle. So before we go any further, I want to do the reading because I want to use what comes up in the reading to inform my ideas for my goals and plans for this cycle. So I set my goals and plans with the moon cycle, but I use the new moon itself to kind of just get a kind of starting point for the themes really of what this cycle is going to be about. I have my membership, which is called Moonwise, where we plan, set goals with the moon and work through with all of the different phases of the cycle, where we set up, you know, different pages and plans of what we are doing through the cycle. I'm just flicking through a few of those pages to show you now. And there's more to it than just the, you know, like the kind of initial ideas, but the new moon for me is a really good time to plant the seeds or uncover really, like sort of draw out the seeds of what it is that I'm going to be working with for this moon cycle. So I've got the Light Seers Tarot here to use for this reading. I absolutely love this deck. It is one of my like most used decks in my collection. I'll just show you some of the cards. It's a very peoply deck, which is not usually something that I love, but for some reason there's just something it reads so beautifully. It's excellent for like all different types of readers. I just think It's a really gorgeous deck. So I'm going to use that to pull the cards for this reading. So I'm taking this as like a reading for me, but also a collective reading for this Gemini new moon. So we have got 3 cards. I'm going to take 3 cards. I'm going to take one for the energy for this new moon. And when I say for the new moon, I'm always talking about the new moon cycle. So it's this new moon kicks off the whole cycle of this until we get to the next new moon. You know, that's how the lunations work. The first card is going to be the energy, the kind of like the overall energy, the environment that I find myself in, and we all find ourselves in this Gemini new moon cycle. And I'm going to take one card for something to focus on in this cycle, and then another card for something to avoid in this cycle. So let's see what is going to come out for us. Okay. So let's have a look. Okay, the energy of this cycle. This is really interesting because this is the Hierophant. So this is a major. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit more closely. So the Hierophant card it's funny. I'd already written when I was making some of my notes about what this moon is about for me. I've said that it's definitely picking up themes from that Taurus new moon which came previously. I'm still working on some of that stuff, and the Hierophant card is actually linked to Taurus, so it's really interesting that has come out. But in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, the Hierophant card is almost like got like religious tones to it, with like a priest, and it feels very kind of like structured, like there's teachers and there's learners. Whereas what I love about this particular Hierophant card is that we've got this figure here sitting in a in a yoga pose, in a lotus pose, and we've got behind these like steps that are going all the way up to this light. So it's like, when I see this card, I feel like it's saying that there is the opportunity for kind of like walking towards our path. You know, we're not either a teacher or a learner. We are both teachers and learners. You know, we in some contexts we learn, in some contexts we teach. Sometimes in the same context we will do both. You know, like I teach a lot on my channel and also like through courses and things like that. But I'm also very much still a learner, and that learner energy is so Gemini. You know, Gemini is the perennial learner. Gemini always wants to find the new threads, you know, like learn more things, follow the rabbits down holes. You know, there's that curiosity, that strong curiosity, which was one of the keywords actually. I put the keywords for the new moon as communication, ideas, curiosity, adaptability, inspiration. You know, these are keywords for the Gemini new moon because Gemini has that just will, that compulsion to continue to explore, to continue to grow, you know, through their entire lives. So if you've got, that's why Geminis also seem quite young often. And that's another thing I like about this particular Hierophant card, is that it seems more kind of timeless than they can in other decks as well. It's so yeah, for the energy of this moon, I feel like what it's saying for us is that there are going to be opportunities for us to be teaching, and there are also opportunities for us to be learning, and to kind of stay open to both of those possibilities, and feel free to really like kind of like here it's like climbing the steps up towards that enlightenment. It's like keep going, keep looking, follow your curiosity to what it is, because we can trust that our curiosity is going to be leading us somewhere great. You know, if we can really like lean into that intuition and follow those threads, pull on those threads as they come up, I really feel that is the way that we really do embrace this Gemini energy. But also just in general, you know, when we can follow our intuition more in our lives, and without judgment, you know, because a lot of the time it can seem a bit mad. It's like, why am I doing this? Because I have this inner knowing that this is the right thing to do. But the more that we do that, and the more we kind of normalize that, we are really changing the way that we show up in the world and the way that we do things in the world. Okay, so that is the energy, and it's a major. So this is showing that it's going to be quite a major moon cycle for us as well, which is interesting. So let's have a look at like the thing to focus on in this cycle. And we've got the Nine of Pentacles. So Nine of Pentacles is a beautiful earthy energy. Again, you know, like I said, that this card was Taurus as well, the Hierophant. So both bringing in this earthy energy, which is interesting given that, you know, Gemini is an air sign. So it's funny that we're getting these more like kind of earthy cards coming up. But I feel like it's showing us that Gemini curiosity, that learning, needs to be embedded in our real life, in our like embodied in our life. And that, again, you know, is picking up so many themes for me from that Taurus moon cycle that is continuing. You know, it's going to be continuing on that work. So things to do with like our finances, things to do with our health. Also, like when the Nine specifically of Pentacles comes up, it's such a rich gratitude card as well. So like to look at the blessings in our life and to really sort of enjoy and see. And she almost looks like she's like so happy and grateful, you know, and she's cooking up one of these pentacles in her pot as well, you know. It's a very like interactive card as well, you know. It's like I'm counting my blessings, but I'm also using them. I'm selecting what it is that I need in this particular moment, and I'm going to start working with that energy more fully. I really love that Nine of Pentacles energy, and to lean into that. It's things like gratitude practice. It's things like focusing on the body, embodied practice, you know, breath work, perhaps like grounding, you know, anything that gets us feeling where we are in our bodies, in space, in time, focusing, like I say, on our health, on our finances. All of that stuff is just like Nine of Pentacles gold. So let's have a look at what it is that we are avoiding in this cycle. Interesting. So we switch from the earth and we're getting into the water with that Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups is a card of walking away from a situation that has come to an end. You know, we have been working with that Scorpio full moon energy. You know, we are in the part of the year cycle where we are saying goodbye to some things and stepping into other things. You know, that happens with all of the new moons, but especially when we get the Scorpio full moon, it's that it's like a kind of death and rebirth time. And so to me, this is saying that discernment is a word that is popping up for me here now. And it's saying that we should be taking note of, sometimes it can be too easy. You know, this card coming up in the avoid position, it's saying to avoid walking away from situations, you know, perhaps. Like, I'm not saying avoid walking away from toxic situations, of course, but what I'm saying is we avoid walking away from situations as like an escape. You know, sometimes it's like, it's the work sometimes is in the staying, it's in the having those difficult conversations that we don't want to have. So, you know, like that's why like ghosting is a thing now, you know, is because it's so much easier to just ignore it and try and like walk away from it than it is to actually address a situation, be honest about how we're feeling about that particular thing, and to bring that up, you know, especially in relationship with other people as well. It's far easier to just like kind of ghost or kind of just slowly drift away. This card is saying to me, you know, like it's not time to be walking away from that now. You know, some things it's almost like got both of those meanings in it. I feel like, you know, it's got the meaning that there will be some situations that are unsalvageable, and that those situations, yes, by all means, you know, walk away from those situations. But then there are other situations which can still be saved, that there is still some life, some energy left in that. And in that case, we want to stay with that, to kind of be with that and see how our presence and our connection can heal. You know, like we've got this gorgeous deep pool of water here, and yeah, I suppose it's like don't turn your back on those sparks of potential which could still be there. But yes, I'm not advocating by any way staying in like toxic situations or anything like that. Just get the hell out of there, of course. I am going to take a photograph of these and print them out on my little mini printer to stick here, and I'm going to write up what has come out in that reading, and I'm sure there will be more layers, you know, that will reveal themselves as well with these cards. Let me know in the comments what you think of these cards, like how are they landing for you, how are you reading these cards, and then I'm going to use that to kind of inform what I want to do for my goals and plans. I am also still using the printouts that I've done from, you know, this is the free New Moon guide for Gemini. I printed it all out on like sticker paper so that I can be cutting bits out and sticking it in. And you know, there's ideas for journal prompts in here. There's also ideas which you could also use these for tarot oracle pulls as well. And there's also some ritual suggestions. So I'm going to have a little look through these. I'm going to have a look through what I wrote down for like my astrology, my personal astrology, also for these cards, and use all of that information to kind of inform my goals and plans and what I'm going to be working on in this moon cycle. But like I said, I'm just kind of getting the ideas, the potentials, the possibilities down here. It's actually in the Moonwise, in our Moonwise membership, where I work more deeply with like, okay, identifying this is the goal I'm going to be working with in this cycle. I hope you've enjoyed this Gemini New Moon journal ritual. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, or if you're in our Jessica and the Moon Discord server, I'd love to see a picture of your spreads. Thank you so much for watching. Warmest blessings, and I will see you very soon.